Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to discuss my lab duties and my TA duties. So a few disclaimers. I am currently packing to go home for Thanksgiving break. So my washer's loud, my dryer's loud. I haven't changed the batteries in the smoke detector. So just bear with me, ignore the background sounds. I'm trying to figure out if I can minimize it. But yeah, so I've mentioned before in a lot of videos about my responsibilities. Actually, I haven't talked about my responsibilities, but I discussed having to be a teacher's assistant as well as being a lab manager. So I thought that, you know, it would be a great idea to kind of specify what that means. And for those interested in going to grad school or applying to grad school, you'll kind of know what this will look like. Also, if you are already in grad school, we can chat about, you know, girl, at my school, this how they do it. And I could be like, girl, this how they do it here, or boy, whatever the case may be. So let's get into the video. That was lame. Okay. So I have a list. I have a list of things that I wrote down so that I'm just not rambling about stuff. Yeah, just to keep me on track. So I'm gonna start off with my responsibilities as a TA. So I discussed about when you're in a PhD program, you receive an assistantship. It's either gonna be a research assistantship where you work in a lab or a teaching assistantship, and sometimes you actually get both, but all that I have is a teaching assistantship to help fund me being here. So I TA for 2 different courses. I TA for a lifespan class and then also a human sexuality class. But within those 2 courses, there are 2 sections in each class. So I'm actually technically TA in 4 classes. And it can be overwhelming sometimes, but I mean, I'm here, so the work has to get done. So it's really gonna vary by the professor, honestly. So for one of my classes, I have to attend every class. I just pick which section that I want to go, so I don't have to go to both sections because she's gonna be teaching the same thing in each class. But I sit in, I take notes. If they ask me any questions, I should be able to answer them. I actually love being a TA for the human sexuality class because anytime the teacher needs to do any demonstrations or help with anything, it's a good way to kind of get to know who all is in the classroom and the personalities in the classroom. So sometimes I have to facilitate activities or partake in activities, and it could be a really good experience because, I don't know, like, you're sitting there and you're like, wow, like I was just in your shoes a couple of months ago and now I'm in graduate school. So it's like, in a sense, I'm still kind of immature like them, which I don't really care because I feel like it makes me relatable. But it's just nice to kind of like get active within a classroom. And then also it's really, really nice to sit back and see how this professor teaches, what I like, what I don't like, and how I can probably implement those things when it's time for me to start teaching courses by myself. So yeah, so attending class is one of the things that I have to do. Another thing is sometimes I have to fill in for the professors. So sometimes a professor may be out on a conference. They may be really, really swamped with research that they're doing. So sometimes I have to go in and I have to run a class by myself. And because I'm not able to teach yet, because I don't have my master's degree yet, I usually just show a movie, facilitate discussion questions, go over maybe like a study guide. What else have I done? You know, and I asked the class, like, do you guys have any questions about like the homework that's coming up, exams that's coming up, just being kind of the liaison between the students and the professor. But I kind of like when I go in and like have to run the class, because it's so funny, because like I'm at the little professor podium and people walk in class and they're like, where's our professor? It was kind of like that for the first 2 times, but after that, it's like, oh, Jayla's running class today. Like, you know, it's going to be super chill, a really chill vibe or whatever. So it's nothing too extraneous. Like, I don't have to teach a lecture by myself, because technically I'm not qualified to do that yet. This is the last thing that I have, but I feel like there's more, but whatever. So I am in charge of grading exams and grading papers, which sucks. So with grading exams, usually there's like, you know, a Scantron, like the little sheet you fill the bubbles in with. So I get that from the professors and I take it to like this scanning site on campus, and they scan it, send the grades, email the grades, cool. If these exams have short answer questions on them, meaning like there's open-ended responses, then I have to grade those. Grading can be so ambiguous, because sometimes, like, I don't know, I'm just learning that as a person who's grading stuff, work smarter and not harder. Do what you need to do to get the points, because it doesn't get you any brownie points by doing extra stuff. Basically, that's what I'm learning, but which I didn't know, because I could have been less stressed in undergrad, but whatever. So I have to grade those short answer responses. And now, since it's the end of the semester, there's final exams going on, like exam 4 is going on, also final papers. And this is the most like irritating thing to do. I haven't even started, because I've been honestly procrastinating on it. Having to go through and grade each paper when all by myself, when there's 75 to 100 people in each lecture, which means 400 people, potentially 400 papers that I have to grade. Very irritating, very time consuming, but honestly it's what I'm getting paid to do, so you know, you just kind of have to suck it up. But there's worse things that I've had to do in grad school, so it's just time consuming and very tedious and annoying. That's all that I have to do for my teaching assistantship. So I am also training to be a lab manager. So I don't have a research assistantship. This is just my responsibility, being a part of the lab that I'm in. And it's so rewarding. It's stressful, but it's so rewarding. So the professor that I work under, there's a current lab manager now, but she's graduating soon. So I'm like training to take on her position. So I just want to talk to you guys about those responsibilities. It's a lot, but it's rewarding. So the first thing that I have down is that I have to manage the undergraduate research assistants. And this may seem like, you know, super small, like, you know, that's not nothing. But it is, because at the end of the day, like, the undergraduate researchers are usually volunteering to do it. So they aren't, like, this is not their job. And sometimes you may have undergraduate research assistants that act as volunteers and not as serious. So you have to take that into account. But thank God I've been really, really blessed with this lab, because all of the people in there are super duper amazing, and most of them are graduating, and I'm so sad, and I feel like I'm attached to them and I don't want them to go. But yeah, so managing the undergrads. So for example, when the undergrads need to work on things in the lab, such as entering data, calling participants, there has to be a graduate research assistant like me in the lab with them. So they can't be in the lab by themselves. So I really have to divide my time up between my schoolwork, my study time, being a TA, and then also having to be in the graduate lab. Having to be in the lab when I need to be. So that's why it's very important to, like, when we're talking about maybe adding new students in the graduate lab, a question is like, yeah, Jayla, you'll have all of these students to help you with the little tedious things, but will you have time to monitor them and to quality control and to make sure they're doing what they need to do? They're on top of things, they're not playing around. So yeah, managing undergrads is one of those things that I have to do. Something else is I have to know all of the studies in the lab. So currently in our lab, I think there may be 3 or 4 or 5 studies going on. And with that being said, I have to know what these studies consist of, how to enter in the data for these specific studies, how to use whatever technology we're using to get the data, whether it be fMRI stuff. I think that's what it is. But we use, I don't know what it's called, and I'm still learning, but it's, you know, the sticky things that they stick to different parts of your body to like measure your like heart rate and stuff like that. Have to know all of the different technology, have to know all of the different procedures to do within each study. And if the study has phases in it, then phase 1 instructions may look different from phase 2. So just knowing how to do that, knowing the studies is very, very important because it keeps me on track of what I need to do for each study. So yeah, another thing that I have to do that is just strictly lab manager business is I have to manage all of the accounts in the lab. So usually, I'm sure this is how it is, but in like a research project or research study, usually the study is getting funding from an outside source. And let's say this outside source gives you $1,500 to get participants and complete your study for the remainder of for 6 months. So I have to manage all of that money. Every 2 weeks I have to turn in what's left over. I have to fill out forms to request new amounts of money. I have to keep up with all of the receipts. I have to make sure that I'm saving them in different places. So really managing the money, keeping just making sure I know how much money is left over within each study, because you have deadlines. Some organizations want you to have all of the money gone by a certain time, which means, okay, we need more participants, we need more of this, we need to get this done, we need to pay people to do this. So just making sure I'm keeping like up to date on how much money is left in this account and how much we need to spend, and this is how many people we need to have in order to get things done. So that's also a lot too. It's a big responsibility. Another thing that I have to do is I just call it IRB stuff. So if you don't know what IRB is Institution Review Board, and this is like the company or the organization that gives you access to do your study. So you send in IRB stuff and they approve whether it is appropriate, making sure you're not putting your participants in any danger. It's a way to protect you and a way to protect the participants. So I'm also in charge of keeping up with the IRB stuff. So they give you a time span, let's just say a year. This study is good for a year, and every year you have to turn in these forms to renew the study to make sure everything is up to date. So since there's so many studies going on in our lab, and every year things have to be updated, I've had to renew a lot of studies within this year. And it seems like it's so much, but when I updated my CV, which is like your resume for graduate school or academia, I'm like, dang, I've done a lot, and I've only been here for 5 months. So having access to RB information is very it's like, okay, girl, you actually doing stuff in your lab. Another thing that I have to do is I have to hold interviews for potential undergraduate research assistants. So I have to go through this whole training about what we look for in undergraduate research assistants. How can you gauge out these things in people's nonverbals, making sure you have that kind of instinct to pick people who do good work, which can be kind of hard. So yeah, that's also another thing that I have to do. And another thing that I have to do is run the scheduling systems. So this means that I have to get everybody's availability within the lab. So graduate research assistants as well as undergraduate research assistants, and compile all of our availabilities together to make sure that all of us will be able to attend meetings. So I have to schedule weekly meetings. Also, scheduling appointments for the research. So scheduling time so that participants can come in and kind of get things done as well. So that can be a little, not frustrating, but it can be a lot sometimes, because it's like, I don't know, it's just so much. Yeah, so just scheduling and just like, okay, these 3 people can work together on these days and I have to be there. Just, you have to oversee so much. You have to oversee so much. According to my list, it seems like that is all that I have for today, which is great because nobody likes a long video when people just rambling. So thank you for tuning back in to my channel, and like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your peoples.